Why do the same 3 pocket pistols get all the oxygen, while a bunch of genuinely smart carry guns barely get mentioned? Is it because they're bad, or is it because they don't have a hype machine the size of a small country? And how many people are walking around with a gun they settled for because the internet handed them the same short list, when there's an option that would actually fit their hands, their lifestyle, and their tolerance for recoil way better? That's what this video is about. Today I'm running through 6 pocket-friendly pistols that feel like silent sentinels, guns that don't dominate the comment sections, but quietly solve real carry problems. And I'm not doing the fanboy thing. Each one gets its flowers, and each one gets its warnings, because underrated doesn't mean perfect. Alright, let's talk about the pocket pistols nobody talks about, but should. Beretta 30X Tomcat. This little guy feels like a tiny mechanical watch that decided to become a pistol. In a world where every conversation turns into just carry a Micro 9, the Beretta 30X Tomcat is a reminder that pocket carry has its own rules. The Tomcat family has been around since the 1990s, and it earned a weird reputation: charming, clever, and sometimes frustrating. The 30X is Beretta taking another swing at the idea, with updates aimed at fixing old pain points. The main reason this gun even deserves airtime is the tip-up barrel. That feature is the whole personality. Instead of fighting a stiff slide, you can pop the barrel up, load a round directly into the chamber, close it, and you're ready. For people with weaker hands, arthritis, injuries, or anyone who just hates wrestling a tiny slide, that's a big deal. It turns "I can't run this" into "actually, I can." Mechanically, it's a small blowback pistol. Simple, compact, old school. Ergonomically, Beretta tried to modernize the feel with a better trigger shoe and a more contemporary grip vibe, so it doesn't feel like a museum piece. Now for the reality check, because this is where the Tomcat legend lives. Even with improvements, the 30X has had reports of early production quirks that made some first buyers feel like beta testers. One of the nastier stories floating around has been barrel pivot pin issues, where that critical little part can become the weak link. Another recurring theme is ammo sensitivity, which is common in small blowback guns, but extra important here because people want pocket pistols to run defensive loads without drama. So who is this for? The person who values easy loading and mechanical charm more than chasing the hottest caliber trend. It's a niche pick. It can be a brilliant niche pick. Just go in with eyes open. Kel-Tec P15. If pocket pistols had a mad scientist category, Kel-Tec would have its own shelf. The P15 exists because someone at Kel-Tec looked at the concealed carry world and said, okay, what if we make a 9mm that's insanely thin, absurdly light, and still carries a lot of rounds? And then they actually did it. The polymer version is the headline grabber. It's so light, around the mid-teens in ounces unloaded, that it almost feels like a prank the first time you pick it up. On body. That can be amazing. Less weight means you're more likely to actually carry it all day without constantly adjusting your belt, or feeling like you're dragging an anchor. But physics is undefeated. That same light weight can make recoil feel sharp. Not unusable, but the kind of snappy impulse that reminds you you're holding a compact 9mm in a very thin package. And the thin grip can concentrate pressure into your hand, which some shooters describe as uncomfortable during longer range sessions. That's where the metal version comes in. More weight tends to tame the snap and make the gun feel more settled when you're shooting. It still stays in the carry-friendly lane, but it trades a bit of the ultra-light magic for improved comfort and control. The other big conversation with the P15 is complexity. Kel-Tec likes clever safety systems, and the P15 brings features like a grip safety and manual safety options, depending on the variant. Some people love that, some people hate it, and some owners have reported reliability annoyances, things like light primer strikes or feeding issues, often depending on ammo and individual gun variants. So this is who the P15 is for. Someone who wants maximum concealment and minimum weight, and who's willing to confirm their particular gun runs reliably with their chosen ammo. It's the kind of pistol that rewards a hands-on owner. The FN Reflex shows up and says, yeah, we're doing an internal hammer, and we're doing it because the trigger matters. That's the hook. The Reflex is built around a hammer-fired, single-action style trigger system, and the result is a trigger that many shooters describe as cleaner and more defined than the mushier feel you can get from some micro-striker guns. FN went after that crisp wall, clean break vibe around the 5-pound neighborhood, because they know how many people complain that tiny guns are hard to shoot well. And then FN doubled down by releasing the Reflex XL, pushing the platform toward the crossover lane with a longer grip and bigger capacity. The 18-round headline for the XL is part flex, part practical benefit. More grip to hold, more ammo on board, and often a calmer shooting experience. Ergonomics are one of the Reflex family's strengths. The grip texture and shape tend to get praise, and the recoil spring setup is often described as easier to manipulate than some micro-compacts that feel like they were built to punish your fingertips. Now we have to talk about the meme, low left. A bunch of shooters reported that their hits were landing low and left, and the internet did what it always does. Some blamed the sights, some blamed the shooter, some blamed the trigger, and some blamed the moon phase. Two explanations pop up a lot. One is sight picture. AN's factory setup can favor a combat hold style sight alignment, and if someone is used to a different hold, they'll print low without realizing why. The second is the trigger itself. When a trigger is lighter and sharper, people sometimes overgrip and dip the muzzle at the break, especially if they're tense or new to that feel. Also worth noting, early magazine-related feeding complaints have been discussed online, and later production runs and updated magazines are often described as smoothing that out. Who should care about the Reflex? Anyone who's a trigger snob, but still wants a carry-sized gun. It's a platform that rewards people who actually shoot. Mossberg MC2SC. It's underrated for the most boring reason possible, the name on the slide. Mossberg is shotgun royalty in most people's minds, so when they build a micro-compact pistol, a lot of the market just ignores it, which is a shame, because the MC2SC is a very practical carry gun that checks a lot of real-world boxes. The MC2SC evolved from Mossberg's earlier compact designs and moved into higher capacity territory. It uses a steel slide, often described as a tougher stainless setup, on a reinforced polymer frame, and the whole thing has that sturdy tool vibe. Nothing flashy, nothing trying to win a popularity contest, just built to work. The big standout feature is the safe takedown system, STES. If you've been around guns long enough, you've heard the stories. Someone cleaning a striker-fired pistol, pulling the trigger as part of disassembly, and something goes wrong. The MC2SC's STES is designed to reduce that risk by allowing takedown without the same trigger press step that has caused negligent discharges in other designs. That matters, especially for newer owners. It's not a substitute for safe handling, but it is a thoughtful layer of protection against a common failure mode. On shooting feel, the MC2SC often gets credit for being controllable and comfortable in the hand, especially with its extended magazine options that give you more grip surface. The trigger is commonly described as a solid modern striker trigger, good enough to shoot well without feeling like a mystery box. Price-wise, it tends to land in a quiet value zone, not dirt cheap, but frequently under the cost of the biggest name competitors. So who is this for? Someone who wants a practical carry pistol with a safety-forward maintenance design, especially newer carriers who want fewer ways to mess up. Taurus GX4 Carry. People often refuse to touch it because they're still mad about Taurus from a decade ago. And look, I get it. Brand reputations are earned. But the GX4 Carry is a strong example of a company trying very hard to be taken seriously in the modern concealed carry market by packing features into a price point that usually doesn't allow it. The GX4 Carry stretches the original GX4 concept into a slightly larger, more shootable package. That crossover size is popular for a reason. You get more grip, a bit more barrel, and usually better control, without jumping all the way to full compact. The TORO angle matters too, because optics cuts have basically become standard equipment by the mid-2020s. Taurus leans into that with models designed for red dots, plus a rail for a light, features that used to be premium only. The shocking part is the value. Around the $350 neighborhood is the number you see thrown around a lot, and in that zone you're getting things like interchangeable backstraps, which is honestly rare at this price. Backstraps matter because they can change how the gun indexes in your hand, how the trigger reaches, and how manageable recoil feels. On paper, and in many owner reports, the GX4 Carry comes across as surprisingly shootable for its size, with a trigger that feels modern, a clear wall, a clean break, and a reset that isn't an endless scavenger hunt. So why is it still underrated? Simple. Stigma. For some people, Taurus will always be cheap, but the GX4 Carry is one of the better arguments that cheap and junk are not the same thing. Who should consider it? The person who wants a carry pistol with modern features and doesn't want to pay a hype tax. IWI Masada Slim. Feeling like somebody accidentally priced it too low and just never fixed the mistake. IWI has a legendary name in military and service firearm circles, but in the US concealed carry conversation, their smaller pistols don't always get the attention they deserve. The Masada Slim is one of those, wait, why isn't everyone talking about this guns? The headline is value plus shootability. In a market where the biggest names charge you for the logo, the Masada Slim often lands around the mid-$400 range while still offering a modern, optic-ready setup and a strong overall build feel. But the real nerdy superpower is logistics. The Masada Slim has a reputation for magazine compatibility with CZ75, Jericho-style magazines. That matters more than people think, because magazines are the hidden cost of every pistol. If you can buy reliable mags for less money and find them more easily, that's long-term savings and long-term convenience, especially if you're the kind of person who actually trains and wants multiple spares. Now let's talk about shootability. The Masada Slim is often described as softer shooting than some well-known micro-compacts, and it's tied to design choices like the feel of the grip and the general geometry of the platform. People talk about it staying flatter and returning to target with less drama. The trigger is another pleasant surprise in a category where triggers often feel like compromises. Many shooters describe it as having a short take-up, a defined break, and a reset that's easy to find. So why doesn't it dominate the conversation? Marketing and momentum. People buy what they've seen 1,000 times. Who is it for? The pure shooter carries a person who wants a gun that's easy to run, easy to afford long-term, and doesn't need an internet fandom to be good. So that's the list. 6 pocket-friendly pistols that don't get the spotlight they deserve because the carry world is loud, repetitive, and obsessed with whatever's trending this week. If you take one thing from this video, let it be this. The best carry gun is the one that fits your body, your hands, and your lifestyle, while running reliably and being safe to live with every day. Now I'm throwing it to you. What's the most underrated pocket pistol you've actually carried or shot? And what did it do better than the popular picks? Drop it in the comments because I'm always looking for the next nobody talks about it gun. If this helps, hit like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.